afternoon, and welcome to Chaar Yaar, Ek Dilli. Today's conversation brings together Mr. Sunil Kant Munjal and Mr. Nitin Kapoor, co-authors of Table for Four, a warm and engaging chronicle of friendship, food, and Delhi's changing culinary landscape. We are honored to have Mr. Kapoor, a long standing friend of the festival who has attended every edition and supported us throughout, and Mr. Munjal, who is here not only as a co author, but the founder patron of Serendipity Arts, whose vision and generosity have made this festival and its broader culture mission possible. We are also joined by Chef Manu Chandra, one of India's leading culinary voices, who was our first culinary curator in 2016. His long standing experience across restaurants and kitchens offers a nuanced understanding of how dining spaces are imagined, built, and sustained. Thank you for joining us. Over to you, Chef.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here. Congratulations, gentlemen, on the launch of your book last night.
Thank you.
I was one of the lucky few who got a manuscript to read ahead of time, so I was prepared for today, which I did on a flight. And something that Mr. Munjal told me yesterday, and I vouch for that, is I knew I had homework to do, but at the same time, I didn't anticipate that it'd be something that I would read cover to cover in one seating. Obviously, I didn't have the printed version at that point, so there were lots of images and lovely things that I haven't seen yet, but I hope to, and you should get your copies too. So there was a lot that I actually took away from that book, especially from somebody who works usually behind the scenes. You obviously see it from the perspective of a diner. There was a lot of reading between the lines for me. So I'll ask you a straight up question. Do you want me to start with the racy bits first or the safe ones?
Your option. Your.
You're fine with both. Uh, okay, I have questions prepared. See,
I have no answers prepared.
I think the first thing that struck me about the book, chapter after chapter, not including the bits that sort of traverse the history of food and restaurants in Delhi, the provenance of so many things, was essentially a very, very endearing and very deep-rooted friendship between the four of you. And I do remember during the pandemic, as a chef, I kept saying that there is no better way of getting people than around a table breaking bread together, because that's really where the deepest bonds are formed. Your love for your alma mater is absolutely remarkable. And this is not me just saying it, it comes through very clearly in the book. And there's a lot of us here who probably haven't gone back to school after, we left it. And the four of you for decades have been plotting and planning on how to keep making that better. And that too was remarkable. And I think that sense of ownership for your alma mater, that sense of belonging that comes through is remarkable. How do you see that? Now I'm going to sort of segue away from the book specifically, playing out in today's day and age.
So one of the things that is reasonably well known about the Doon School is that the network of the Doon School Old Boys Society is considered one of the most unique networks globally. And it's not just to do with school, it's of any network. Financial Times and New York Times in different times have done ratings. This ranked in the top 10, actually it ranked in the first, in one of them it ranked at number 6 and one at number 3. It included networks like the Masonic Lodge, by the way. Yeah. So, and there is something unique, almost magical about this. People keep questioning, why does it work like this? Because I also went to another school and I meet my friends, or I don't meet my friends. As you said, we don't always think about this. I think one of the things about the school, if I may, Nitin, is that at a very young age, Doon School makes you take decisions on your own. 11 years old, 12 years old are put in committees which take decisions for actual operations of the school. All operations are decided by a committee in which you have one boy from each house and one staff member. Everybody has the same vote. So you learn things, you make mistakes, and by the way, you're allowed to make mistakes. You better correct them yourself. So there is a sense of responsibility that comes in at a young age, which is quite unusual. But the network itself is like a safety net for people. Every now and then you get a call from somebody, I'm visiting your city, can I get some help? I'm a young graduate looking for some suggestions and ideas, can I get some? And they're very rarely refused. So this is unique about this school, and all four of us have been presidents of the Doon School Old Boys Society, so we had a little bit more connection than many others. And Ajay and I have also been on the board. In fact, I chaired the school for a term, and that just enhances your connect. And it is wonderful to see that even in this time when there are so many other institutions which have come up, that this continues to be considered the leading school in the country. So you're almost incentivized to constantly think of its well-being. But more than that is the connect with the people. It's not just with the school. It's with the DOSCO. It could be 16 years old or could be 86-year-old. You will connect with them.
Very well said, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Mic on?
I keep it closer.
Give it closer. Okay. I would just like to add that about the fraternity of the Doon School, the most important thing in our time was food. Food was the most important. Everybody only talked about food because we were always hungry. Because our schedule started at, I think, 5 o'clock in the morning with chota hazari, which was a slice of brown bread with jaggery and cocoa. And after that, we kept running till 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. So food has been an essential part of every DOSCO's life. Yeah. And Table for Four is that. It's a lot about food, a lot about friendship, our time we spent together. And for those of you who don't know, there's an abbreviation in the book called SPP, which stands for Synergy of Past Presidents. So we were all four presidents of the Society of the Alumni, and we've had our 75th lunch day before yesterday. And now we are planning not the 76th, we are planning the 100th lunch, which we hope will happen in the next 2-3 years. If God gives us life, we'll be there together. Please.
Thank you. I'm not taking pot shots here, but at the same time, I mean, when you read through some of the chapters and you read stories of a lot of restaurateurs who've made a mark of some kind in a particular period of time, you see the word pioneer, legend thrown around a lot. And I kind of see this in my own industry, that everyone becomes a pioneer the moment they open a restaurant. It's a bit of a self-perpetuating cycle. But you, seeing, through all these lunches of yours, so many of the restaurants that you write about in your earlier lunches don't even exist today. So they've already faded from, their physical spaces and memory. This constant... Sorry. So change...
But we've still covered them.
Yeah.
But we've still covered them. Excuse me. Can we just... we didn't drop them from the book, by the way. And that was a deliberate choice, knowing fully well that while at the point in time when we went, this was our experience, that it's actually important to record that. So this is also it's also an archiving exercise. And you're absolutely right. And you know this better than anyone. This is the toughest business in the world. Because you're literally as good as your last meal. You may be a phenomenal restaurant for 6, 7, 8, 10 years. And then, you
fall from
start
grace.
to decline and you fall from grace. And the fall can be very, very rapid. But about the pioneering, I'll tell you, our attempt was to try to be honest, in fact, sometimes brutally honest in our assessment, because we had no angle, we had no bias. And that's what people now who have read this book are telling me, that comes through quite clearly.
Yeah.
Nobody was telling us you must go to this restaurant. Nobody was paying us to go and do the review. It was purely self-motivated. It was purely an idea of, the idea was not even the review. Idea was to just catch up with each other. The reviews were almost a byline of our whole thing. But over a period of time, it became such a useful document that we felt it is definitely worth documenting this, that you cannot just let it be. And the original idea was to do it only for a few friends and DOSCOs.
Yeah.
But as the book evolved, we therefore had to edit it. We had to pull some of the stuff out, which was, purely doing school conversation about friends and personal remarks sometimes and stuff. So that bit we have taken out of the conversation.
So I'm going to actually build on my previous question about the whole pioneering bit. And now, as you mentioned that, you made a deliberate attempt to actually include restaurants that may have already shuttered, but here were path-breaking places that ceased to exist. And yet, when one reads the book, there are places that you go to whose histories, their stories were based on, a rags to riches story. People who came from absolutely nothing, third generation, fourth generation restaurateurs serving largely familiar, known cuisine. And they seem to have outlasted everything else that came in between. All your reviews on those restaurants are glowing. So what does that say about the changing, or in this case, unchanging landscape of Delhi's dining scene?
You want to take that? So actually, it's very interesting you should ask this question, Manu. We saw this shift take place. One time saying, I only want conventional food. And then we saw a big spurt for a while of nouvelle cuisine, all the experimentation. 2010 to 2012 or so was a big spurt. 2015 onwards, actually, I remember this conversation. It's actually not in the book. Maybe we should have put it. We had, because we were not all four together, two of us had this conversation that there's too much of this going on. Let's try and figure out a way to simplify this right now. It's getting overcomplicated, and Delhi may not yet be ready for this. And actually what resulted in the outcome that you're talking about, that many of them failed. But this has come full circle now. The experimentation has begun in right earnest again. You see this, and again, you're not the one I should be telling any of this stuff. But it is a reality. And you see this across India. Look at Goa, by the way, since we're in Goa. Some of the best eateries, some of the most experimental eateries are actually coming up here. And you're seeing more and more of that in India. And you see countries go through these phases. You look at Dubai, you look at London, you look at New York. And these are the big food capitals of the world. And they've all gone through these phases, as India has of late. Going back to conventional stuff as safe haven, and now reopening up of experimentation. I actually love this, the stuff that people do. It's very hard to predict if the experimentation will continue to be successful over long periods of time. There are enough examples which are successful, but equally, there are those that just blow up.
Yet, a lot of those experimentations, again, based on your reviews and the chapters that cover restaurants like that, have this innate tendency of holding on to tradition, but repackaging it in a more experiential form, so that it wows the customer that is walking in. It provides this sort of all-encompassing experience that goes beyond the plate. Great ambience, excellent loos, because they rate it very highly. We'll get to the loo point in a bit. But so there is that, and again, this begs to answer, ask the question. In India, largely, is there that tendency to still hold on a little to the past while, slowly ratcheting up the experimentation and out of the comfort zone thing?
Can I share a small story? Am I being heard? Yeah. Well, back in the day, this is to do with restaurants and food, and it's come to my mind. So I may not be answering any question, but I would like to share it. Back in 1976, Back in 1976, I, against all wishes of my parents and my family, I opened a restaurant in Kensington, on Kensington Church Street, and we named it Holy Cow. So it was a very sort of controversial name. Of course, we were not serving beef. It wasn't vegetarian, but it was a very popular restaurant. And one day, we had a lady visit us, and she was a famous food critic. Her name was Faye Mashler. Now, we were novices in the business. We didn't know who she was. So we showed her the alcove table. We said, yes, madam. We gave her the menu. She ordered. She was hoping that, we would come for autographs or some splendid answers. But we presented her with a bill, which she reluctantly paid. And that was on a Wednesday, I remember vividly. And on Saturday, when we opened the Evening Standard, the middle spread was all about Holy Cow. And what was written was not very complimentary. But sadly for her, and to our good luck, it worked in our favor, because any type of publicity works in your favor. And the next day, we had long queues outside Holy Cow. So inadvertently, some things do happen, and they come to your advantage.
And I want to just respond to what you said. So one of the things we discovered over this journey was, it is not the food alone which makes the restaurant. And I'm glad you actually noted that. It is the overall experience. The service matters. Even more than the service is how they make you feel. So this is one thing I used to comment about, that when you eat in USA specifically, even more than in the UK or other parts of Europe, after they serve you, a few minutes later, they will come and ask, how are you doing? How is this? What do you think? Can I do something else for you? It is conversational, but it makes you feel both comfortable, makes you feel looked after, and I think it makes a huge amount of difference. So that's one of the things we have commented about we have sadly not then given complete rating to the rating to full restaurants overall experience right through the book. We only started it and did it for a short while, and I think we should have done this maybe early on. But that includes all of this, including, as you said, the loos. The only thing, as Nitin pointed out yesterday, we did not do is go to the kitchens and the pantries. Maybe in the next lot we should now, and that would be an interesting adventure, I would think.
It would be very interesting.
Yeah.
I would not recommend it.
Only if it's a Japanese restaurant.
And all the more reason that we must do it now.
Well, Faye is still around, still waiting for pictures to be taken. So, and the bill not being presented. Is this on record? Okay. There goes my chances of opening a London restaurant.
Honest episode.
Yeah.
It is no masala in it.
No. So taking off on that, on the critique bit, because I'm glad you brought that up. So you just helped me frame the next question. Gentlemen, you are very generous. I mean, I really wish we could hold tutorials for Zomato reviewers to come and take lessons from you, because I mean, there are episodes in that book where you go, this meal was fairly diabolical, but it wasn't that bad actually. We may just come back. Very forgiving, very kind, very magnanimous. I think that magnanimity, that kindness has kind of vanished when you read what's happening in the food world. There's this, it almost seems like restaurants, chefs have become punching bags because they're the easiest to critique.
Soft targets.
Soft targets. Yeah. And I'm taking from something you said at the inaugural, on the opening night, that, you wish that the world would enter a new phase of kindness. And there doesn't seem to be very much around when we go after. I mean, a bad meal can't possibly destroy your life, right? Why do you start pretending and writing and antagonizing everybody around, which causes a lot of angst around? There was a couple of years ago, and it kind of continues this ecosystem of negativity that was floating around, and it kind of still hovers. And you have been complete contrarians in the book in that sense, and I'm very glad for that. I think I felt very good. I wish they were food critics, but alas.
Because the reviews were written without any agenda.
Yes.
You know, the circulation was small, so that's why they hopefully came across as honest, totally honest.
Also, I want to say, it is about who we are. So you can't change yourself only when you're doing A thing or B thing. The idea was to be yourself, to express it as you would anything else in life. If there was a mistake made in our own organization, we would give it a chance. And we would say, this is fixable. This is beyond fixing. So we have a few places made those comments, but you're right. We have been generous but realistic. And I think that is the point I was trying to make in that. Actually, if you go around the festival, we were attempting this messaging across, that compassion, kindness, connections, relationships, people is what truly matters in the world. At this moment, we seem to be tearing ourselves apart the world over. And it's not only an Indian phenomenon, it's a global phenomenon. Look at geopolitics, look at geoeconomics, look at the global conversation, look at the quality of conversation, look at the decibel level and how personal it's become, how adversarial it has become. So one of the attempts in this book is to bring us back to being human beings, the way we are, the way we hope we all are, and to just be normal and natural. There is no angle, as Nitin is saying, there is no angle to the book. This is a comment, interestingly. Now, a number of chefs and food critics are now made on reading this book. That is the beauty of this book. We had frankly not even thought about it, because I said it was the normal thing to do.
May I, Manu, just a second, because it'll slip my mind, because I may have a senior moment. The book, Table for Four, I think it could be used as a good food guide, because there isn't one. I believe there's no good food guide in Delhi. So these honest reviews would give the customer a good opportunity to see where to go, where to eat, what will it cost them, what not to do, what to be careful about. So it could be part of a good food guide.
I mean, unfortunately, Ajay Sriram not here, but I definitely wanted to ask about this incredible affinity towards prawns. I mean, there is practically prawns on every order.
Yeah, because he's strictly non-vegetarian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if a vegetarian dish came to the table, Ajay would say no, immediately.
I wanted to ask him about his cholesterol, but he's not here. A lot of prawns on that in those meals. But aside from the reviews, there's also a lot more happening in that book, and there are some extremely moving chapters, some incredible stories. One that struck me was, and very powerfully written, was that by Suvir Saran, which was about identity, about being a complete, outlier in the industry, trying to make his way, in obviously a very unforgiving, demanding environment, which was Delhi at large, and he still, plowed through and came up tops. It's a story that's often not told about the people in the industry. And it's not only in our industry; it's in so many industries. There's a lot of people who are kind of, slaving away in the back and trying very hard to break through a glass ceiling that constantly exists. It's not something that just disappears in one go. And I'm so glad that chapters like that are included in the book, because they provide and shed tremendous light on the struggles, trials, and tribulations of people who work behind the scenes. Your kindness towards them in that book, because is also very admirable. And as you say, senior moments, as people who have obviously been doing this for a very long time. What do you have to say about now, especially on the back of what's happened in this very state, in this very town, not so long ago? You see that there's a lot of struggling people in this industry. How do you feel people at large, customers, can just make it better for everyone around?
So again, it goes back to our being ourselves. So we said we should take everything on face value as we see it, not for reasons other than their ability to provide a high quality meal and a fantastic experience as a restaurateurs. And for that reason, I think it's important in our system, in our communities, in our society to be inclusive. So at the very festival that we are sitting at right now, one of our attempts is inclusion, to include those who normally get excluded. So if you walk around, in fact, just outside, you will see number of experiments going on, number of projects going on, number of programs going on including street children, kids from orphanages, transgender communities, those with learning challenges, deaf, mute, and blind visitors, elders from care homes. So anybody who looks different from us or speaks different from us, I don't imagine they would have a different aspiration than ours. So why can we not be accommodating? Why cannot we take them as they are? We are not questioning it, but we are putting it as the normal part of every other experience we've had in the book.
And
It's again, as I said, it's without bias.
it is without bias, yes. And like I said, that's the beauty of a lot of the other chapters outside of your lunches that you have included in the book. And there is a great story arc which follows Delhi's sort of, well, it's more than just the restaurant history of Delhi. It's a history of Delhi itself in some way, right? And that's lovely because your restaurant visits, which are kind of shuffled through, so they fit into that narrative, is really great. So, what's your greatest takeaway from these decade and a half of dining out in Delhi? How and for somebody who obviously has seen it from how many years now?
It's been a long, long journey, very enjoyable. And as I had mentioned before somewhere, that even marriages don't last 17 years. So this friendship, which we have had for so many years, has been really enduring. Our lunches are basically the most relaxed time of our lives. When there is nothing else to discuss, it's just chitter-chatter, friendship, camaraderie. Okay, we belong to the same school, that apart. But we enjoy time together, just talking about usual stuff, daily routine matters, no politics, no agenda, no preferences, just chill out for a couple of hours. Yeah. And for busy diaries like of Sunil's and Ajay as well, I'm the only one who's got all the time in the world. But I think I'm blessed that I have all the time in the world. So we spend 2-3 hours together in a restaurant, afternoon. Alcohol is a no-no because it's the afternoon. So we have a coffee and it's great, relaxing time, me time.
So let me put you on the spot for a second.
Please do.
What are your views on kitty parties?
I think it sounds like you read the book.
Yeah. Can I be totally honest? In fact, I am the munshi of the group, meaning I do all the administrative work because you cannot outsource this to somebody else because it's a place of passion. So when I make a booking at a restaurant, one of the questions I ask them very politely, what is your biggest table? Size of your biggest table. And the reason I ask is that if they tell me it's 12 or 14, I may avoid that restaurant because most likely they are going to be 16 lovely ladies, chitter-chatter all the time, and we cannot even get 2 words in. I've been totally honest.
So Munjal, would you like to chip in?
So, however, for restaurants, it is great business, and I know this. And in some cities and towns, it's more popular and more prevalent than others. In fact, for many restaurants, and I've heard this from a few of them, that this is the backbone of their survival, and the rest is just cream on top. So, what we have found in our experience, and as obviously, as you said, you read the book, is that if you're close to a table with 12 or 15 women at a lunch, it is actually difficult to hear yourself think.
Yeah.
And that is the only objection we had. We have no other objection, by the way.
But I would like to add something, Sunil. On a lighter note, we went to one of our SPP lunches, and I hadn't done my homework properly on that attempt. So there was a kitty party going on. And at that kitty party, there were stacks of money, cash, literally on the table, stacks of money. And there was a money counting machine. People putting in, and the money was being counted. So I said, how can this be allowed in a public restaurant? But as you said, that's the backbone. That's the income stream. So these things do happen. That lunch is memorable.
Actually, I had a very memorable lunch. I was being reviewed, and it just so happened that that day the reviewer who has also written the introduction to your book, who's never given me a bad review, happened to walk in on a Wednesday afternoon, unannounced. You could not even hear plates break on the floor because the din was so loud. It is the only bad review I got because the man couldn't hear himself eat or think. And as a restaurateur, I can completely understand. In fact, I have policies in the current restaurant which has a certain ambience and charm in the evening where we don't allow kids under a certain age because I did that. I was very generous when I opened. I was like, it's okay, allow everybody. And within the first month, I realized that we'd become the new Mela in town because the number of people dancing and taking selfies and little reels that they could post, kids running amok, throwing things in this beautiful fountain that I had designed. I was like, okay, stop. If you want something for longevity at a certain benchmarking, then you have to keep certain rules in place. So I am not entirely in disagreement.
So interestingly, so in the first opening chapter, we have written a little bit about the motivation, a little bit about the history, the evolution, why we do what we do. All of it is there, including some of the stuff about the kitty party lunches. And but to Veer, your point on Veer, so when we asked Veer to do forward for the book, he was a little bit taken aback first. He's saying, "What are you guys doing with the food book? You are busy business people." And I said, "You should come home and have a chat with me, and I will send you the script to read first." When he came, he made 2 or 3 very interesting remarks. First, he said, "I found this completely refreshing. I found your reviews the most interesting and engaging part of the book. I was totally taken aback. I thought that would be the weakest part of a book because these are personal conversations about us, and we were writing casually. Of course, as you know, Deepak was the big expert in food amongst the 4 of us, but we continued post Deepak as well. And he said, that is the beauty, because it is written completely unbiased in an innocent manner. Even the conversations you guys are having are interesting. It's not just about because it's personal, but because of the way it's been done, and the comment I guess you are making as well, that it's not biased and it is a little bit kind. He said, frankly, I've not seen all the rest of the stuff is supplementing it to turn it into a true anthology of Delhi's food legacy. But for me, that is, I said, well, that is your case. I'm presuming many others will find the other stuff more interesting, because each of them now has a completely different perspective of the book. To appreciate it as a whole, you have to see the different slices that it's made up of.
Are you getting a compliment from a Mayoite to Roscoe? I think that's the biggest validation the book could get. But I mean, on that note, I think I should open a few questions up to the audience also, I'm sure, because not too much to be given out. You need to get your copies. And it is actually an incredibly joyous read. Anybody?
Thank you for a very interesting talk. I've got the copy of the book with me. With 2 food lovers and a restaurateur, and you did talk about how the food industry and the restaurant industry is evolving. How do you see the future of this with the whole Swiggy, Zomato happening, people looking about the experiential dining, and of, I think in my head, I feel there's a very small community which still believes in actually going out for dining as an experience. There are others who would do it just because of Insta. So just want to get your thoughts. It's a very open question. I know it's not.
I'm probably an outlier in this, so I would be the worst commentator because I've always been dead against platforms in general. I think they're hugely detrimental to business in the long run, and a lot of people in for short-term gains don't get it. A lot of them got into the business specifically to be vendors for a lot of these dark kitchens, service providers. And as I was reading a fascinating article the other day, I can't remember, in some financial newspaper, and saying that the biggest issue that will arise very soon is with the gig economy worker. Without him, where is this delivery going to come from? And they're already in, let's say, in a city like Bangalore, where I live, doing 20, 30 deliveries a day is suicidal. It is, I mean, I don't need to talk about the traffic in Bangalore. I'm sure you've all heard of it. If you're not from there already, it's impossible. It is just physically so draining on any individual. The acrimony that they have to face on a phone call because they're 2 minutes late on a 10-minute delivery, which is ludicrous to begin with any which way, right? It's just creating a bubble, I feel. And I'm sure, are you an investor in any of them? Hold on a second.
Let me add a different dimension. I think it is actually very useful. I completely agree with Manu on the negative part, on the human angle. It is brutal completely. But what it has done is introduced a variety of food to people who otherwise could not, would not, or had not gone out to these restaurants. I think on the one hand, that is a big plus. Second, after you ordered something interesting 2, 3, 4 times, you actually do want to go to the restaurant for the good experience. Restaurant business will not die because of this. I think this will supplement and will continue in parallel. Neither one is going to die out in a hurry, by the way. The difficulty of running a restaurant, as I said at the beginning, will continue. On the margins, this will be competition. But if you take a step back, it will actually supplement the entire issue. The overall, it will grow the size of the pie. The culture of eating out was prevalent earlier in Mumbai, not so much in Delhi. So it was culturally, we were pockets across the country. You see that morphing into one style. Everywhere people are ordering out now. So there are families who are cooking at home less and less. There are some I know who don't cook 1 meal a day, or some don't cook 2 meals a day because they're able to get food. Can we get a mic there? Please.
May I just add one to?
The gentleman at the back.
Okay, fine. You go first, sir.
Yeah. Since I'm elder to you, Mr. Kapoor, okay. Mr. Munjal, basically I have two things, one for you, Manu, also. Tell me that, how do you get the time? I've Googled you, you're in healthcare, you're in skilling, you're in education, university, you run an insurance business, you're in startups, you are also into the restaurant business, philanthropy, and Serendipity Arts Festival. Where does the passion come from? So that's one to you. And Manu, let me put it this way. You may have Swiggies, but take what's happening in shopping malls today. The formats are changing, and online shopping is there, but shopping malls are growing at more than 20% per annum. It depends on the right format. Sorry, these are two things. One is a thought for you. And second, honestly, after having Googled you, where do you get this time and passion?
So when you're passionate about something, you will always find the time for it. And my good fortune is that we have very good, large number of teams who actually do the work. I just sit in places like this and take the credit for all the work they're doing. So I'm very, very fortunate. Yeah. Mr. Kapoor has done a lot of the heavy lifting in this, by the way.
Deepak, have your questions been answered? Okay. I just want to respond to your question, sir. I feel that takeaway, as opposed to going to restaurants, there is also a financial angle to it. Because if you get food from outside, you have your drinks at home, there's no service charge, there's no other extra charge, so it's economically more affordable. But it's a full circle. You do it 2, 3, 4, 5 times, then you want to go to the restaurant to get the real experience.
Yeah, sorry. Well, from, I mean, if you look at the P&Ls of a lot of these places, if you actually see their numbers, as it is, I mean, it is slim pickings. Most people think that it's a very lucrative business because you're paying X amount, but it's funny, you know. You step out and nobody has an issue paying 350 rupees for a cup of coffee, but you'd balk at paying 100 rupees for a churis pav across the road. So it's very different how people's mindsets work as far as consumption is concerned. A lot of platforms, etc., work on very, very high fees. When you're already working on food costs, labor costs, and now rentals, and giving away 28 to 30, up to 36% away to a lot of the aggregators, you literally are racing to only volumes, and that has its own set of challenges. So, I mean, Mr. Munjal has already shed some light on it, that it is good in some sense. Yes, I agree that it does open up a completely new paradigm to consumers that may not have, taken part in that previously. But generally, I think a lot of Indians, the middle class especially, is stepping out a lot more. And forget the tier 1 cities. If you go to the tier 2, tier 3 cities, go to any market which has some kind of food activation going on, and I do travel for work for other companies or agencies that I consult with, I'm completely blown away. I'm like, what's happening over here? I went to the ship breaking yards in Alang. It's on one really strange end of Gujarat, but the closest town to that, if you drive along the promenade, you would be amazed at the number of wood-fired pizza thelas, and ice cream shops on that stretch, and packed Monday to Sunday. And they have thecha, they have all kinds of really interesting pizzas, but incredible crusts. The aspiration exists, and people don't mind going out, but the business side of the quick delivery format is a little taxing on restaurateurs, and that is the case. And once you get into that, to get out of it is very difficult. So it's a bit of a slippery slope. Any last question? We have time for one more.
Safety of the delivery boys who are coming and giving us food. They are overspeeding. Nobody treats them as human. We just take it and they are at the end, both ends. I just saw a video yesterday that they are the firing end of both the customer as well as the person who, whichever company they are working at, and nobody's really looking into it. I
Fortunately, the new policy that has been announced of late actually recognizes this as a profession, recognizes them as employees. They will be contracted. They will get all the benefits that employees of corporations and companies get. So there's a clear shift taking place. This was a real problem, and you're absolutely right. It still has not been fully adopted. It was a brand new policy, just been announced just a couple of weeks ago. So I'm hoping this is what will make a difference. We have to look at human beings as human beings. You have to treat them as people. It doesn't matter what profession they are at, what age they are, where they are from. So all of that has got to be secondary. And that is important. We as a nation are evolving, growing, changing so rapidly. We must not leave our humanity behind. And I think that's an important one for all of us to remember.
Well, on that note, I will ask you all to please get your copies. There's incredible recipes in there also, because I'm very happy I snagged the recipe of an Adnan kebab, which I was trying to break down for the longest time. Amul cheese is the secret ingredient. I told you I've read the book. And great stories, absolutely fantastic stories. So congratulations, gentlemen, once again. And thank you for your time on stage. And thank you all for coming. Um,